We are getting a much fuller picture of the alleged gunman in the Santa Barbara shooting rampage. Elliot Rodger, the son of a Hollywood director who lived a life of privilege, but whose writings and videos reveal a mind that is disturbed, isolated, grandiose, and enraged over his lack of luck with women.
And some context this morning. Take a look at this map. Since 1996, there have been 9 instances of deadly gunfire on or near a college campus, resulting in a total of 62 deaths. The worst, of course, the massacre at Virginia Tech, where 32 people died in 2007. In the Santa Barbara case, the gunman opened fire at 10 locations, killing 6 people and then himself. 10 crime scenes there, and we have team coverage this morning. ABC's Clayton Sandell is at Elliot Rodger's home where the massacre started, but we're going to start here with ABC's Bazi Kanani at a deli where one student was shot and killed. Bazi, good morning to you.
Good morning, Dan. Students have placed flowers inside the bullet holes in the glass, marking the moments of terror in this college town. And over here, makeshift memorials like these are growing in the places where students were killed.
The shock in this college town now turned to grief as more is learned about the victims of a premeditated killing spree and about how the suspect allegedly carried out a vicious plan for revenge.
I honestly thought that was my last moment. I thought I was going to die.
This surveillance video shows the terrifying moment at the IV Deli Mart when startled students duck for cover as bullets rip through the store's window. The gunman right outside.
He fired 2 shots in. It stopped for about 2 seconds before they just started raining through.
Investigators say the deli was one of 10 places Friday night right next to the UC Santa Barbara campus where 22-year-old Elliot Rodger hurt or killed people during his mad drive around the town.
Shots fired, shots fired.
Before that, police say Rodger killed 3 men inside his own apartment, all stabbed repeatedly. Investigators say Rodger then drove to the Alpha Phi sorority house and shot at young women in the area, killing 2 members of another sorority, Tri Delta sisters Katie Cooper and Veronica Wise. His next stop, that deli, where a 3rd UC Santa Barbara student died from gunshot wounds, the distressed father of Christopher Michael Martinez lashing out at the senseless violence.
When will this insanity stop? When will enough people say, stop this madness? We don't have to live like this. Too many have died. We should say to ourselves, not one more.
Deputies chasing after Rodger in his black BMW exchanged gunfire with him twice. The rampage ended with a crash. Rodger shot in the head.
It would appear as though he took his own life.
Found in Rodger's car, 3 semi-automatic handguns and more than 400 rounds of ammunition, all purchased legally. Students gathered in silence Saturday night to honor the victims after the traumatizing violence at the end of their school year.
Colleges near here have made counseling services available to students. Again, a total of 7 people, including the gunman, are dead. And among the 13 who were injured, 2 are still in serious condition this morning. Bianna?
As that grieving father said, too many have died. Bazi, thank you. And our thoughts and prayers are with the families grieving this morning. Meantime, a very disturbing portrait of the mass murderer is emerging. His parents were so concerned about him that they recently called police after watching a YouTube video he'd posted. We're also learning about a very detailed manifesto he'd written called My Twisted World. ABC's Clayton Sandell is outside Rodger's apartment in Calabasas, California, with that side of the story. Clayton.
Yeah, good morning, Bianna. Elliot Rodger's life appeared to be complicated and troubled. He was the privileged son of a successful Hollywood film director, but who also allegedly posted threatening videos on YouTube. And then there is that long manifesto filled with sexual obsession and murderous fantasy.
Elliot Rodger here.
This morning, a clearer picture of the alleged shooter is emerging. Authorities say Elliot Rodger, a 22-year-old college student seen here in these YouTube videos, left behind a 141-page manifesto.
It's very apparent how disturbed Mr. Rodger was.
The bizarre autobiography seems to hint at why Rodger may have allegedly killed 6 people and injured 13 others, writing that, quote, all of my suffering on this world has been at the hands of humanity, particularly women. This YouTube video, investigators say, was posted by Rodger just hours before the attack, echoes those sentiments.
Girls gave their affection and sex and love to other men, but never to me.
The document delves deep into the troubled life of the alleged killer, tracing back to childhood bullying, sibling rivalry, even fantasies about killing the writer's father and stepmother. All I would need to do is think about all of the hurtful things she had said to me in that past as I plunge my knife into her neck. But what if father is in the house to stop me? Would I have to kill him too? An attorney for the family tells ABC News Rodger was in the care of multiple therapists and a social worker.
Nobody would do the types of things that happened last night unless there was some form of mental illness. The child was diagnosed at an earlier age of being a highly functional Asperger's syndrome child.
Sheriff Bill Brown says it was a call from Rodger's family that brought deputies in contact with the 22-year-old for the third time, less than a month before Friday's violent rampage.
Deputies contacted the suspect at the time, found him to be polite and courteous. He downplayed the concerns for his welfare, and the deputies cleared the call.
According to the sheriff, Rodger legally purchased the semi-automatic handguns he allegedly used in the killing spree.
If a person has not been institutionalized or has not been taken against their will, that information is not entered into a database and is not disqualifying information for someone purchasing a firearm legally.
But before the shooting began, investigators say Rodger killed 3 men in his apartment, closely following the plans laid out in the manifesto. The first people I would have to kill are my 2 housemates to secure the entire apartment for myself as my personal torture and killing chamber.
So many chilling words and images that investigators will be poring over for a long time. Dan?
Yes, they will, Clayton. Thank you. So were key signs missed here? Just moments ago, I spoke exclusively with Santa Barbara County Sheriff Bill Brown.
You know, Dan, I think we could take a look at this from a Monday morning quarterback standpoint. And this person, Mr. Rodgers, presented himself in a manner that convinced them that he was not a danger to himself or other people.
But let me push you on that just a little bit. Given his history of mental health issues and given his history with your department and given the types of things he was saying on the internet, how high is the bar for something like involuntary commitment?
Well, someone has to exhibit that they are a danger to themselves or other people to be committed under California law on a hold to be evaluated.
You have said that no laws were broken here in that sense. Do we need to change the laws?
I think what we need to do is to do a better job as a society of identifying underlying mental illness. And it's obvious that Mr. Rodgers had an extensive period of interaction with healthcare professionals, psychiatrists, psychologists, counselors, and so forth. He was prescribed medication at one point that he didn't take.
A delicate balance and one of the thorniest issues facing this country. Finally, you have described what a gruesome crime scene you found at Elliot Rodger's apartment, where he stabbed his roommates, and that on top of the many other crime scenes that you and your team are dealing with. How are the members of your department holding up?
Well, you know, it's been difficult on some of my staff. It's been difficult really on all of us in terms of the tragic nature that has occurred here. But some of my deputies were obviously exposed to not only these very gruesome crime scenes, but just some heart-wrenching situations, one of which occurred at this location that I'm standing at right now, where they saw young people in the prime of their life who had been gunned down die in front of them, and that certainly was very, very difficult for them. There were other deputies who responded to this active shooter situation and engaged in gun battles with Mr. Rodgers, and obviously the extreme stress that is involved in that is something that impacts all of them as well. But I'm very, very proud of the men and women of the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office, the way that they responded resolutely and heroically.
Could have been far worse. 400 rounds left over. Sheriff Bill Brown of the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Department, we really appreciate your time during this anguish moment in your community. Our thanks to Santa Barbara County Sheriff Bill Brown. And coming up in our next half hour, we're going to talk to one of Elliot Rodger's friends, who you see right here, who gives us a disturbing look inside the mind of this troubled young man.